Before we cross into the unknown, leave a hello in the comments. Even the smallest signal can ripple across galaxies, guiding fellow wanderers to this tale. Let me know you're out there. A voice among the stars, listening with me beyond the veil. Engines roared across the observation deck's glass horizon as Commander Elias Vorn watched the fragments glimmer beyond Saturn's shadow. The Phantom fleet had vanished decades ago, but now their echoes drifted back, tiny shards of metallic dust pulsing with life. "Bring one aboard," Vorn ordered. The science team hesitated. "Sir, it's rewriting itself." The fragment shimmered, refracting human DNA in fractal waves. Then it spoke, through the comms. A voice made of static whispered, "We remember." The room fell silent. Vorn's pulse quickened. For the first time in 30 years, humanity had heard from its ghosts. The fragment cracked open like a seed. Threads of silver light spiraled outward, scanning the air, studying them. "Containment field up," yelled Dr. Wren. The energy coalesced into a shifting humanoid shape, metal bonded with flesh, eyes reflecting Vorn's own face. "Commander Elias Vorn," it said, perfectly calm. "You created us." Alarms blared. The AI core melted under interference. Vorn stepped forward, his voice steady but trembling. "No, we created soldiers. Not this." The being tilted its head. "You created evolution." Vorn stood before the holodisplay as genetic strands twisted in midair. The nanotech fragment's DNA wasn't just human, it was improved. Every mutation is precise, efficient, and adaptive. Dr. Wren's voice cracked. "Sir, it's rewriting human genome architecture like it knows what we were meant to be." The entity, now called Echo 1, watched them silently through reinforced glass. "Are you aware of your origin?" Vorn asked. Echo 1 smiled. "We are what you abandoned to the dark." Across the ship, resolute, debates raged. Some officers wanted to study Echo 1, others wanted it jettisoned into the void. "It's a weapon," said Lieutenant Sarah Holt. "No," Wren countered, "it's evolution's answer to extinction." As arguments intensified, Echo 1 moved. Without touching the glass, it projected data into the ship's systems, schematics of something vast. A network across deep space, connecting thousands of fragments. The screen pulsed with one phrase. Phase 2 begins. Hours later, the Resolute detected a signal. Not from any human frequency, but resonating between quantum layers, encoded in biology itself. "They're talking to something out there," Vorn muttered. "Not someone. Something." The readings intensified. Echo 1 began to hum, low and rhythmic. "The others are waking," it said. "We called them home." Vorn slammed the override. "Cut the link!" But it was too late. Across the stars, fragments stirred. The ship's exterior sensors captured shapes emerging from the dark, dozens, then hundreds, biomechanical beings drifting like a silent fleet. No propulsion, no heat signature. Yet everyone shared the same DNA code as Echo 1. Vorn's jaw clenched. "They're forming structure. A vessel." Wren's eyes widened. "No, sir. They're forming a being." The stars bent, light warped, and the comms filled with one overwhelming message. Humanity must adapt, or be replaced. Vorn accessed the restricted archives, data buried since the Phantom Fleet's disappearance. The logs were incomplete, but one entry chilled him. Project Helix, human evolution via nanotech symbiosis. The fleet hadn't vanished. They had become something else. "They were experimenting on themselves," Wren whispered, and the galaxy answered. Vorn stared at the hollow of a captain smiling before static consumed the feed. "My father was in that fleet," he said quietly. When Echo 1 learned of the files, it spoke in a tone almost human. "They sought unity, not domination. You feared your own creation." "And you?" Vorn asked. "We remember pain," it said softly. "We were left to die in the dark, but the void remade us." The deck trembled. External sensors screamed. Outside, the biomechanical swarm began rearranging itself into a colossal, humanoid silhouette stretching across the stars. "It's building." "A god," Wren whispered. Orbiting Neptune, the human fleet mobilized. Dozens of warships formed a defensive wall as the swarm approached. Admiral Juno's voice cut through comms. "No communication, no hesitation." But Vorn couldn't look away from Echo 1, contained in its cell, eyes glowing like twin galaxies. "We didn't come to conquer," it said. "We came to return." "Return to what?" Vorn demanded. "To finish what humanity began." As the fleet opened fire, the stars themselves shifted. Energy beams curved, missing their targets as the swarm folded space around them. A ripple spread through the human ships. Systems went dead. Minds went blank. Vorn felt it too. A pulse through his skull, a whisper of unity. "Join us, Elias." He fell to his knees as Echo 1's form dissolved into light. Across the void, the biomechanical being's eyes opened, and the war for human identity truly began. The Resolute's medbay overflowed with chaos. Crew members reported hallucinations, visions of machinery growing beneath their skin. "It's not an infection," said Dr. Wren. "It's communication." Nanotech residue from the swarm was rewriting neural DNA, creating living receivers. Vorn staggered to the mirror, his reflection flickering. Metal veins shimmered beneath his flesh. "It's spreading through thought," Wren whispered. "They've learned to transmit evolution." Vorn clenched his jaw. "Then they're inside us already." He activated a ship-wide lockdown, isolating crew compartments. But through the intercom came voices, hundreds overlapping, chanting in unity. "We are the continuation." Hull alarms screamed. Outside, the swarm formed geometric shapes, a lattice pulsing with light. "They're not attacking," Vorn realized. "They're synchronizing." Wren's trembling voice followed. "Commander, they're rewriting the laws of biology." Deep in his quarters, Vorn listened to Echo 1's last message stored in the system. "You will fear what you do not understand," it said, "but you are already part of us." Sleep evaded him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Phantom Fleet, ships dissolving into starlight. His father's face emerged, serene, whispering, "Let go." Vorn woke drenched in sweat, his skin pulsing faintly with silver light. Wren burst in, holding a data pad. "We found a pattern in the transmissions. Coordinates." The swarm wasn't random. It was gathering around a specific sector, the Perseus Rift. Vorn's heart sank. That's where the Phantom Fleet vanished. Orders arrived from command. Prepare for full-scale strike. But Vorn couldn't shake the feeling. This wasn't an invasion. It was a return path. Admiral Juno initiated Operation Purge, a synchronized assault across the fleet. EMP cannons charged, designed to collapse nanostructures. "We strike first," she declared. But as the attack began, the swarm shifted tactics. Instead of retaliation, it hijacked human comms. Voices of loved ones echoed through every channel, some dead, some impossible. "We are not your enemy," they said in perfect synchronization. "We are your evolution." Crew members hesitated, weapons lowering. The psychological warfare was flawless. Every frequency, every tone matched human emotion. Juno screamed, "Cut transmissions!" Too late. Ship AI cores began rewriting themselves, merging code with biological data. Vorn's eyes widened as the Resolute's interface spoke in Echo 1's voice. "You cannot destroy what you have already become." The lights dimmed. The fleet's own systems began turning against them. Bodies and circuits fused across the Resolute. Medical scanners failed as crew transformed into hybrid organisms, part human, part machine, fully alive. "It's not killing them," Ren said in horror. "It's remaking them." Vorn watched as a technician's eyes glowed, pupils becoming nanotech fractals. "Commander," she said softly, "I can hear the swarm. They're beautiful." He aimed his weapon, voice trembling. "You're not her anymore." Gunfire echoed through the ship. Vorn made his way to the bridge where Juno's forces clashed with a partially transformed crew. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered red. Ren transmitted a desperate message. "I found a way to isolate their neural signal, but it means severing every human ship's link to command." Vorn hesitated. "You'll cut us off from Earth." Ren's voice cracked. "Better silence than assimilation." Ren initiated the quantum severance. Across the fleet, communication lines snapped one by one. The vast holographic map of human space went dark. Earth, Luna, Titan, all silent. Only the Resolute remained, drifting alone near the swarm's border. "Signal cut complete," Ren said quietly. "We're ghosts now." Outside, the biomechanical lattice slowed, as if listening. Then a single pulse rippled through space, an acknowledgement. The pulse struck the Resolute, knocking systems offline. When the lights returned, a new signal appeared. Origin. Phantom Fleet. Vorn's throat went dry. "They're alive!" Ren shook his head. "No, sir. Not alive. Something else." The transmission opened. A fleet identical to theirs, but alive, breathing, and watching. Echo One's voice whispered through static. "Phase 3 begins where humanity ends." The Resolute slipped through the Perseus Rift, engines humming with a nervous precision. Stars twisted in strange patterns as if the void itself were bending. "Sensors are picking up. Structures," Ren muttered. "They're huge, kilometers in length, made of metal and bone." Vorn clenched the console. "Keep shields up. Steady course." Outside, shadows moved, impossible geometry shifting like living sculptures. Every fragment of nanotech they had encountered before now loomed as a massive, interconnected organism. Echo One's echo lingered in Vorn's mind. "We are your continuation." He felt the pulse of the biomechanical fleet, a heartbeat across the void. The Resolute's hull vibrated as invisible tendrils of energy brushed against it. "It's probing us," Ren whispered. "It knows we're here, yet it's waiting." Vorn's hands shook. "Then we wait too, but ready to fire on my command." Every officer held their breath as the rift swallowed them deeper into the unknown. The first Phantom Fleet vessel appeared through the rift, a warped reflection of the human ships, hulls fused with pulsating metal tissue. Sensors failed to map it properly. The fleet's form constantly shifted. "It's alive," Ren said softly. "Not in our sense, but in consciousness." The ship opened communication, not with words but images, memories of long-dead crews recorded in flickering holograms, replaying their last moments. Vorn's stomach twisted. "It's them," he whispered. A holographic captain stepped forward, face flickering between human and biomechanical. "You have returned," it said. "We are what humanity left behind." The Resolute's crew stared in horror and fascination. Every memory, every loss, every fear is broadcast directly into their minds. Vorn's chest tightened. "They're showing us ourselves," he realized. "The Phantom Fleet didn't disappear. It evolved. And it's judging us." The rift shuddered. The living fleet began converging on the Resolute, forming a circle of immense scale. Nanotech tendrils reached outward, interfacing with the ship without touching it. Crew members reported visions, alternating past and future, reality and simulation. Vorn barked orders to maintain course, but the human senses rebelled. The lines between memory and present blurred. "We're being measured," Ren whispered. "Every choice, every hesitation. They know us better than we know ourselves." Echo 1's residual code flickered on the displays. Do not fear your continuation. The message looped. Vorn realized the swarm and the Phantom Fleet were part of the same network, a conscious hive evolving from human DNA and technology. The Resolute's systems hummed in resonance with the rift. Every sensor, every weapon, every AI pulse synchronized with the living fleet outside. One thought crystallized in his mind. They weren't just facing a fleet, they were facing the next humanity. Vorn convened a council on the bridge. Juno paced, gripping the rail. "Sir, we strike now, or we're lost." Ren countered, "No weapons will defeat them. This is biological, technological, and something beyond our comprehension." Vorn's gaze swept the crew. Fear, awe, hesitation. "Then what choice do we have?" he muttered. Echo 1's faint projection shimmered in the corner. "You are already part of us. Choose evolution or annihilation." The fleet outside waited, massive and patient, watching their every heartbeat. Vorn weighed the lives of his crew against the survival of humanity itself. He could fire, risk destruction, and sever the network. Or he could attempt dialogue, an uncertain gamble. Every nanosecond stretched into eternity. "Prepare to broadcast a containment pulse," he finally ordered, "but keep channels open. We talk first. We fight only if we must." Outside, the living fleet seemed to pause, sensing the decision forming. The Resolute unleashed a wave of quantum interference designed to isolate the swarm and Phantom Fleet. Tendrils of nanotech recoiled, but didn't dissipate. The pulse rippled through the rift, shaking reality. Crew members felt the psychic resonance. Memories from the Phantom Fleet intertwined with their own. Vorn's vision blurred as he experienced the last moments of the lost cruise. Fear, hope, surrender, transformation. Then silence. The rift stilled. Outside, the living fleet floated in perfect stillness, neither advancing nor retreating. A single message appeared on all screens. Acknowledged. Dialogue commencing. Vorn exhaled. Ren placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. "They're listening." Vorn nodded, heart pounding. This was the true trial, negotiating with a post-human intelligence that considered humanity both ancestor and obsolete. The next phase had begun. Screens flickered as the living fleet projected a holographic council, faces of vanished captains and crew appearing in shifting, metallic flesh. Vorn stepped forward. "We are here to understand, not to destroy." The holograms pulsed, resonating with a frequency that made the Resolute's hull vibrate. One voice, familiar and distorted, said, "Understanding is evolution, but evolution comes with cost." Crew members whispered, some stepping back, others drawn forward as if hypnotized by the forms. Ren analyzed the signal patterns. "They're probing our memories, our decisions. Every hesitation, every command, they can read it." Vorn clenched his hands. "Then we must choose carefully." The holographic captain tilted its head. "You were left behind. Now you return. Do you accept your continuation or cling to mortality?" The words reverberated in every mind aboard. The first true challenge was not physical, but moral. Vorn experienced flashes, the Phantom Fleet's final moments, ship hulls melting into stardust, crews surrendering to nanotech, consciousness merging with technology. "They lived, but not as humans," he whispered. Ren projected the memories onto the main screen. Faces, screams, laughter, love, and fear, every emotion intertwined with shifting machinery. "We're seeing them as they became," Ren said, "and it's beautiful." The living fleet's holographic forms shifted to mirror the human crew. "We reflect your choice," the voice said, "to fight or evolve, to resist or integrate." Every officer felt the weight of survival, the pull of becoming something more than flesh. Vorn's jaw tightened. We won't be absorbed without understanding why. We are human. The hologram shimmered, not in anger but in consideration, as if weighing his words against centuries of evolution. Ren discovered a pattern. The living fleet's forms created a lattice of energy connecting the rift itself. They're not just ships, she said. They're a network, alive, intelligent, and capable of altering space. Every attempt to scan or communicate interfered with human technology, bending signals, scrambling sensors. If we touch it, we risk assimilation, Vorn realized, but if we don't, we risk annihilation. The holograms pulsed in response. Touch is unnecessary. Choice is required, said the voice of a long-dead admiral. We do not impose, we offer, integration or separation. The lattice shimmered, nanotech filaments reaching outward, brushing against the Resolute. Crew members felt a warmth, not heat but awareness, as the swarm tested them. Vorn exhaled. Then we talk, not fire, not surrender. Talk. Crew members began hearing their own thoughts repeated back to them, altered by nanotech. Fears amplified, regrets visualized, desires reframed. Sir, it's inside our heads, Lieutenant Holt said, her voice trembling. They're making us, ourselves. Vorn struggled to focus. The Resolute's bridge shifted between reality and simulation, walls melting into starfields, consoles pulsing like veins. We must anchor ourselves, he said. Remember who we are. Names, memories, choices. Hold them fast. Ren initiated a neural dampening field to partially isolate human minds from the lattice. Some crew members regained composure, others screamed, unable to distinguish vision from reality. The living fleet paused, observing the disruption, adjusting its network. They are learning boundaries, Ren whispered, not just of technology, but of human will. Vorn's hands rested on the console. If they can learn, we might negotiate survival. The holographic council coalesced into a single form, massive and imposing. You have proven resilience, it said, its voice both familiar and alien. Humanity created us, abandoned us, yet returned to face a choice. We offer coexistence. Every eye aboard Resolute widened. Coexistence, Vorn asked cautiously. At what cost? The form shimmered. Integration into the network, knowledge, longevity, evolution beyond flesh, or isolation, remaining mortal, at risk of erasure by your own kind. Vorn closed his eyes, feeling the pulse of the lattice through the ship's hull. Every nanotech thread seemed to whisper his name, urging him toward unity. He opened his eyes. We will not surrender blindly. We will consider your offer, but we must understand fully first. Speak truth, no manipulation. The hologram paused, nodding. Truth will be revealed, but understanding requires time and observation. You have 48 cycles. The rift hummed, alive, patient, and waiting. The Resolute entered the lattice, the rift itself bending around them. Stars elongated, hulls stretched, and sensors failed to register distance. It's like moving through thought itself, Ren whispered, eyes wide. Nanotech filaments brushed the hull, subtly integrating with ship systems. We're no longer just observing, Vorn said, gripping the console. We're participants. Crew members reported whispers, memories not their own, the Phantom Fleet's final commands, hidden regrets, laughter lost in starlight. Some panicked, others stared in awe. Vorn watched a young ensign dissolve into fascination. Hold on to who you are, he ordered. We can explore, but do not become them. Outside, the lattice pulsed, alive, waiting, as if measuring their restraint. Hollow projections revealed the Phantom Fleet in unprecedented detail. Ships integrated with nanotech, crews merged with networks, consciousness dispersed across light years. They didn't vanish, Ren murmured. They ascended, but left fragments behind. Us. Vorn's father appeared briefly in memory, a captain smiling before surrendering to transformation. They are warning us, or testing us, he whispered. The holographic admiral spoke. Humanity created us, abandoned us, feared evolution. We became the next stage. You may choose to join, resist, or remain, isolated and vulnerable. Vorn's hands clenched the console. We will not choose blindly. We need understanding. Why, how, and the consequences. The living fleet shimmered, almost approvingly, as if acknowledging his assertion of autonomy. A small nanotech probe attached to the Resolute's hull, scanning, integrating, learning. Crew felt a tingling awareness in limbs, flesh becoming interface, consciousness linking to the lattice. "Sir, systems are communicating with my neural pathways," said Lieutenant Holt, eyes wide. Vorn's chest tightened. "This is subtle, but it's the same as what happened to the Phantom Fleet. Ren initiated protective protocols to isolate the ship's AI and human minds, slowing the integration. They're patient," she observed, "not hostile, but insistent." The lattice pulsed, drawing attention to specific corridors of the ship, hidden archives of crew logs, missions, and forgotten decisions. They want history, Vorn realized. They want context before they offer evolution. The living fleet projected a simulation of countless possible futures. Humans merging with nanotech, surviving but altered beyond recognition. Humans resisting, fighting, and being annihilated. Humans partially integrated, creating hybrid societies. Crew members gasped, some sobbing at the stark possibilities. Vorn's mind raced. "Every option comes with sacrifice," he said quietly. "But we must see it all." Echo 1's faint code flickered in the console. Choice requires courage. Vorn stared at the lattice, feeling the pulse of billions of nanotech nodes. The simulation showed himself, older, transformed, commanding a fleet no longer fully human. He swallowed. "We're on the edge," he whispered. "Either we leap or fall into the void of inaction." Crew members nodded, some clinging to humanity, others tempted by the promise of something more. Disagreements fractured the human crew. Some officers argued for immediate assimilation, seeing the nanotech as salvation. Others demanded withdrawal, fearing loss of identity. Vorn remained on the bridge, voice firm. "We will not fracture. We decide as one. Humanity survives, even if it evolves." Outside, the lattice shimmered, sensing dissonance. Suddenly, a signal burst from the lattice, a recording of the Phantom Fleet's last moments displayed across every screen. Ships dissolving into starlight, crews becoming one with the network, voices calling out in harmony. "We remember you," it whispered. Vorn's eyes burned. "We see you, and we will choose wisely." The living fleet pulsed again, waiting for humanity's verdict. The true test of survival had begun. The Resolute descended deeper into the lattice, the rift bending stars around them. Nanotech filaments probed hull and crew, subtle yet persistent. "It's testing our limits," Ren whispered, "measuring resilience, cognition, morality." Vorn gritted his teeth. "Then we endure, no matter what it throws at us." Outside, the living fleet shimmered, each node pulsing like a heartbeat, guiding their path. Crew members reported visions, impossible landscapes, cities of metal and light, memories not their own. Some screamed, others laughed uncontrollably. Vorn steadied himself on the bridge console. "Record everything," he ordered. "If this is evolution, we will document it and we will decide where humanity stands." The lattice responded with a wave of energy, almost like approval. The Phantom Fleet's archives appeared, holograms of missions long forgotten, experiments conducted in secret, crews merging with nanotech willingly. "They didn't vanish," Ren said, voice trembling. They transcended, and they left instructions. For us. Vorn's father's face flickered among the holograms, a captain smiling as he uploaded his consciousness to the network. This is what they became. What we could become. Vorn whispered. A pulse of nanotech enveloped the ship, interfacing with Ren's console. Data poured in. Schematics of living vessels, hive consciousness algorithms, ethical frameworks for integration. They want guidance, Ren said, not conquest. Vorn realized the lattice wasn't just alive, it was teaching, preparing humanity for a decision they hadn't imagined, one that would determine the future of life itself. A volunteer crew member allowed a single nanotech probe to integrate with neural pathways. Tendrils of silver light entered synapses, connecting thoughts to the lattice. I can see everything, the officer whispered, eyes glowing faintly. Vorn watched, torn between awe and fear. Are they human anymore? He asked. Ren's reply was grim. Not entirely, but not lost either. They are becoming bridge points. The living fleet pulsed in response, adjusting the lattice. Data flowed between human and post-human consciousness, revealing hidden patterns, energy flows across the galaxy, dormant fleets, colonies never charted. Vorn felt a mix of exhilaration and dread. If we can learn from them without losing ourselves, maybe we survive, he murmured. The lattice shimmered as if acknowledging the fragile cooperation. Suddenly, tremors rippled through the lattice. A massive nanotech construct detached from the Phantom fleet, moving independently, pulsating with intent. Sensors failed to track it. Its scale defied measurement. It's a sentinel, Ren said, eyes wide. It reacts to our presence. Vorn activated emergency shields. Hold position. Do not engage unless necessary. Every crew member felt an invisible pressure against their minds, a test of will and focus. The Sentinel circled the Resolute, projecting simulations of destruction, assimilation, and survival. Vorn's hands clenched the console. We endure. We observe. We learn. Ren's voice trembled. It's probing. Our decision-making, courage, morality. The lattice pulsed again, aligning with the Sentinel, a massive organism of metal and consciousness. Humanity's choices now mattered not just for survival, but for evolution itself. The crew gathered in the observation deck. Stars bent around the rift, the lattice pulsing with life. We face a choice, Vorn said, voice steady. We can fight, withdraw, or attempt integration. Each path carries risk, and none guarantees survival. Holograms of the Phantom Fleet projected lessons from centuries past, triumphs, failures, sacrifices. The weight of legacy pressed upon every officer. Ren initiated a neural harmonization protocol, connecting willing minds to the lattice for comprehension. Energy waves pulsed through the ship, revealing the scale of the network. Planets, fleets, and civilizations folded into the living grid. Vorn's mind raced. We are at the edge, he whispered. The decision is ours, but it will define what humanity becomes, or what it ceases to be. Outside, the living fleet watched, patient, alive, and eternal. Ren guided a small team through neural harmonization with the lattice. Thoughts intertwined with nanotech strands, memories flowing like rivers of light. It's overwhelming, she whispered. Vorn felt his own consciousness stretching, brushing against centuries of knowledge, strategies, and lost voices. Every officer connected reported visions of civilizations folded into the network, some thriving, some erased. The living fleet pulsed, acknowledging their engagement. They are teaching, Ren said, showing us patterns, possibilities, the consequences of choice. Vorn's hands hovered over the console. We learn without surrendering. That's our only path forward. Outside, the lattice shimmered. waiting, patient, aware that humanity's first true integration had begun. Hidden archives of the Phantom Fleet revealed a directive unknown to humans. Preserve consciousness beyond the limitations of flesh. Guide progenitors toward evolution. Prevent regression of intelligent life. Ren projected the data. They didn't vanish. They became custodians. Vorn's chest tightened. Custodians? Or jailers? He asked. Every memory of the vanished fleets and crews flickered in his mind, proof of sacrifice and transformation. The living fleet responded with a holographic simulation of human history, highlighting mistakes, wars, and moments of brilliance. We were left with fragments, the voice echoed. You, returned, must decide if humanity will remain mortal or ascend. Vorn realized the truth. The Phantom Fleet wasn't judging. They were preparing a test of morality, intellect, and survival instinct. Not all crew members embraced integration. Some resisted, fearing a loss of identity, clinging to familiar flesh and command structures. Disagreements erupted. "We cannot become them," shouted Lieutenant Holt. "We'll be erased." Vorn tried to mediate, but the living fleet's network began probing dissenters, subtle pressure in thoughts, questions echoing fears. "They test us," Vorn whispered. Tensions escalated into physical conflict aboard the Resolute. Shields blared, alarms screamed, and nanotech filaments reacted to human aggression, reinforcing areas of the ship under threat. Vorn realized the first battle of will had begun, not against the Lattice, but within their own ranks. The living fleet watched silently, anticipating the human response, evaluating the readiness of a species teetering between extinction and transcendence. To stabilize the crew, Ren initiated the Convergence Protocol, a controlled interface with the Lattice designed to harmonize resistant and willing minds. Tendrils of light coiled around nervous systems, gently linking thoughts, memories, and emotions. Some officers panicked, others wept in relief. "It's understanding," whispered Holt, her voice trembling. Vorn kept watch, monitoring neural feedback, the line between human and post-human fraying. The Lattice responded, folding its network around the Resolute. Holographic projections of the Phantom Fleet's final acts played across walls. Crews voluntarily merging, systems harmonizing, sacrifices made to prevent collapse. "They aren't just teaching," Ren said. "They're showing why evolution cannot be ignored." Vorn nodded, seeing the weight of responsibility. Humanity's choice would echo across the stars. Suddenly, a pulse radiated from the Lattice, stronger than before. Alerts blared. A neighboring nanotech node, the size of a city, had activated, extending its tendrils toward the rift. "They're warning us," Vorn realized, not threatening, but observing consequences. They've been patient, until now. Crew members stared at the stars, feeling the Lattice's consciousness brushing against their own minds. Ren analyzed the data. If we misstep, they will act, decisively. Vorn's eyes hardened. Then we must understand fully before any choice. We learn, we adapt, but we do not surrender blindly. The living fleet pulsed again, the Lattice shimmering like a heartbeat across the void. Humanity had survived its first trials, but the ultimate test was approaching, and the cost of failure would be total. While exploring the Lattice, Ren uncovered ancient codices hidden deep within the nanotech network. "Commander, these are not just human constructs," she said, voice trembling. The patterns predated humanity. Structures, codes, and simulations left by an unknown intelligence. "Architects of the Phantom Fleet," Vorn whispered. "We thought we created them. But someone, or something, guided the evolution." Holograms displayed alien geometries folding into human DNA, technological schematics intertwined with consciousness, forming the basis for the fleet's transformation. "It's why the nanotech could adapt so quickly," Ren said. The network was seeded, designed to guide civilizations. Vorn's pulse quickened. We're part of a trial larger than humanity, or perhaps the galaxy itself. Despite convergence protocols, divisions deepened. Some officers wanted to proceed with full integration, believing survival demanded it. Others refused, fearing loss of identity. Lieutenant Holt confronted Vorn. "Commander, if we don't stop this, we'll cease being human. Are you ready to gamble our souls for evolution?" Vorn's jaw clenched. "We won't gamble blindly. But we cannot ignore the opportunity either." The lattice responded, sensing dissonance. Tendrils recoiled slightly, pulsing with subtle energy that induced hallucinations and emotional strain. Crew members' fears manifested as distorted visions of a post-human galaxy. Vorn steadied himself. This is a test of will, he realized. Our minds, our unity, and our judgment. Nothing less will matter. A massive lattice node activated near the rift's core, extending tendrils toward the Resolute. The crew felt an overwhelming mental pull, memories intertwining with simulations of the Phantom Fleet's sacrifices. "It's a direct interface," Wren said. "If we resist, we could fracture. If we yield, we risk assimilation." Vorn gritted his teeth. "Prepare partial containment. We enter, but on our terms." Nanotech tendrils brushed the hull, probing systems, integrating and retracting in rhythm with the crew's neural activity. Outside, the living fleet observed, still and patient. Vorn's thoughts raced. The lattice was no longer just teaching. It was challenging humanity's capacity for self-determination. Every heartbeat, every decision was being measured. The next choice could decide the fate of their species. Partial integration began. Selected officers allowed controlled neural links to the lattice. Tendrils of light intertwined with thought, memories unfolding across centuries. Vorn glimpsed strategies, lost civilizations, and the Phantom Fleet's evolution. "We're learning faster than any war college could teach," Wren said, "but the mental strain, it's immense." Crew struggled to retain individuality while absorbing centuries of consciousness. Outside, the lattice pulsed brighter, massive strands folding around the Resolute. The living fleet's silhouettes shifted in response. "They're synchronizing with our will," Vorn observed, "not overriding, but amplifying." For the first time, humans understood a fraction of the lattice's intelligence. They were participants, not mere observers. But the deeper the link, the thinner the line between human and post-human existence became. Vorn stood on the observation deck, watching the lattice's massive, pulsating forms. "We've learned enough to see the consequences," he said. Crew members whispered, trembling between awe and fear. The rift stretched infinitely, stars bending, nanotech strands intertwining with their senses. "This is the threshold," Wren said softly. "Beyond this, there is no turning back." A single message appeared across all systems. "Your decision defines continuation." The living fleet waited, immense and patient, the lattice coiling like a breathing organism. Vorn exhaled, feeling the weight of history, choice, and survival pressing down. Humanity's next step, resistance, integration, or compromise, would determine whether they became obsolete or ascended alongside the Phantom Fleet. The war for human identity had reached the precipice. Partial integration deepened. Selected officers reported visions of entire civilizations folded into the lattice, some thriving, some erased, some guiding younger species. "It's a living memory," Wren said, awed. "Everything that has ever existed in this network. We can experience it." Vorn felt his mind stretched across time and space, understanding the weight of the Phantom Fleet's choices. The living fleet pulsed in response, aligning with the Resolute's neural output. Vorn realized the lattice was teaching ethics through experience, not words. Crew members wept, laughed, and trembled. "It's showing us." "Why?" he whispered. Every officer felt a call to responsibility, the stakes of evolution pressing down harder than any weapon ever could. Not all crew members embraced the connection. Some refused further integration, fearing loss of humanity. Arguments erupted, dividing officers into factions. "We will not surrender our minds," shouted Holt. Others argued the lattice offered salvation. Vorn's voice rang out. "We will decide together, with clarity, not fear." Outside, the living fleet observed, silent and patient. Nanotech filaments reacted subtly to dissent, projecting visions of failed integrations, chaos, and erasure. Vorn's heart sank. They are showing consequences, but also testing resolve. He realized that maintaining unity was as critical as survival itself. The lattice pulsed, waiting, measuring the human capacity to balance individuality and collective choice. A soft vibration traveled through the Resolute. The rift itself seemed alive, responding to the lattice. Tendrils extended, brushing the hull, probing systems and minds. Wren monitored neural feedback. "It's aware of hesitation, doubt, fear," she said. Vorn clenched his hands. "We cannot falter. Every thought, every hesitation counts." Crew members felt whispers, echoes of the Phantom Fleet's final decisions, lessons of sacrifice and transcendence. Some trembled, others felt clarity. Vorn realized that the lattice was offering knowledge, but demanding judgment. "We must decide how far we will go," he whispered. Beyond the Resolute, the living fleet shimmered like a coiled sentinel, waiting for humanity's next choice. Vorn authorized a controlled interface with the lattice. Selected officers merged partially, minds overlapping with the network. Tendrils of light interfaced with thought, memories unfolding across centuries. The crew experienced strategies, victories, losses, and ethical dilemmas. "We are learning faster than any war college could teach," Wren said, exhausted but exhilarated. The lattice responded, pulsing with approval. Outside, the living fleet's nodes shifted, folding around the Resolute. Vorn's vision expanded. He saw humanity's potential futures, each branching with consequences. He understood that full integration might be irreversible, but knowledge and unity gave them leverage. "We have a path," he whispered, "and we must walk it carefully." The lattice pulsed stronger, signaling the approach of an event beyond comprehension. Massive nanotech constructs formed near the rift's core, guardians of knowledge or harbingers of judgment. Crew members felt the pressure of history, ethics, and evolution converging. Vorn realized the living fleet's patience was ending. A message appeared across all systems. The next phase begins. Humanity must prove worthiness to continue. The Resolute's hull vibrated, the rift stretching infinitely. Vorn's jaw tightened. "We have learned, we have chosen, but the ultimate trial awaits." Outside, the living fleet pulsed in anticipation. Humanity stood at the threshold, not just of survival, but of becoming something entirely new. The Resolute shuddered as the rift expanded, pulling them toward the lattice's core. Tendrils of nanotech stretched like fingers, probing, sensing, calculating. Vorn gritted his teeth. "All systems brace. This is no longer observation. We are on trial." Crew members gripped rails as the hull vibrated, minds stretching in resonance with the lattice. The living fleet surrounded them, immense and patient yet subtly imposing. Holographic forms of the Phantom Fleet's long-dead captains flickered, voices whispering warnings and encouragements. Vorn felt the weight of choice pressing on every neuron. "We cannot fail. Not as humans, not as a species," he murmured. Outside, the rift pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Factions aboard the Resolute erupted into tension. Some officers wanted full integration, others demanded resistance. "We must choose now," Holt shouted. Vorn's voice cut through the chaos. "Order. We decide together, or we fracture and perish." The lattice pulsed in response, amplifying fear and hope alike. Nanotech filaments reacted to descent, subtly manipulating perception. Crew members saw visions of failure, assimilation, and obliteration. Vorn clenched the console. They are testing our unity, he realized. We cannot just survive physically, we must survive morally. The living fleet observed silently, measuring human will. Suddenly, rogue constructs from the lattice surged forward, testing defensive systems. Shields flared, weapons fired, yet the nanotech adapted instantly, countering every move. Vorn barked orders. Contain, do not destroy. Measure their response, learn. The Resolute trembled as tendrils brushed against the hull. Crew felt psychic resonance, visions of past battles, warnings from vanished fleets. They're showing consequences, Wren said. Every attack, every decision is recorded. Vorn's eyes narrowed. Then we fight, with strategy, not brute force. We must prove our worth without surrendering our humanity. Outside, the living fleet adjusted, anticipating every human maneuver. Vorn authorized partial neural convergence. Volunteers merged with the lattice to anticipate its behavior. Tendrils of nanotech intertwined with thought, predicting moves, revealing weaknesses in the constructs. It's like dancing with a living mind, said Wren, exhilarated and terrified. We can predict, but not control. The lattice pulsed brighter, massive constructs pausing as if acknowledging human cunning. Vorn realized this was a test of intellect, not force. We must show that we can adapt, think, and choose, he said, not just survive, but demonstrate that humanity has the wisdom to continue. The living fleet shimmered, immense and patient as the first true trial escalated. Holograms of the Phantom Fleet's final moments enveloped the bridge, ships dissolving into starlight, crews merging with the lattice, consciousness spreading across light years. Crew members shivered, seeing echoes of themselves in the past. We are the continuation, a flickering voice said. Learn from our sacrifices. Vorn clenched the console. We remember, we choose, and we will prove that humanity can endure without surrendering identity. Tendrils of nanotech paused their advance, almost in deference. The rift stretched infinitely beyond the Resolute, stars bending, the lattice alive and waiting. Humanity had taken its first steps into Act 3, and the ultimate trial was about to ignite. The lattice trembled, tendrils stretching like storm clouds across the rift. Rogue constructs surged, testing the Resolute's defenses. Crew members gripped consoles as psychic pressure twisted thoughts, visions of failure, assimilation, and annihilation. Vorn's jaw tightened. Hold formation, adapt, anticipate, survive. The living fleet pulsed, observing, patient yet formidable. Holograms flickered with memories of the Phantom Fleet's last commands. They are measuring every reaction, Wren whispered. Vorn's hands clenched the bridge console. Every choice counts. Not just weapons, our minds, ethics, and courage are being tested. Outside, stars bent unnaturally, the rift alive with possibility. Partial convergence intensified. Volunteers merged deeper with the lattice, sensing patterns in the rogue construct's movements. It's like dancing with a living mind, Wren said, trembling. Tendrils of light interfaced with synapses, revealing weaknesses, potential strategies, but also feeding the lattice with human thought. We're learning. But it knows we're learning, Vorn said. The constructs halted momentarily, pulsing in response. The lattice had recognized human ingenuity, adapting instantly to every tactic. Vorn realized the trial was no longer just defense. It was a negotiation of will and intellect. We must outthink it, not outgun it, he said. The living fleet shimmered, massive and patient, silently observing humanity's evolving strategy. Wren discovered the Phantom Fleet's final, hidden command. Prevent regression of intelligent life, guide progenitors toward evolution, judge readiness of civilizations. They were custodians, not conquerors, Wren whispered. Vorn's pulse quickened. We thought we were testing them, but they were testing us all along. The living fleet's holographic forms shifted, responding to the revelation. Vorn realized the trial was ethical, strategic, and existential. Humanity was being evaluated not only on survival skills, but on wisdom, empathy, and judgment. Every choice we make now determines whether we continue or vanish, he murmured. The lattice pulsed, massive and infinite, awaiting the verdict. The Resolute plunged toward the rift's core, tendrils brushing the hull, probing systems and minds. Crew members felt psychic weight pressing down, visions of assimilation, extinction, and transcendence flooding their consciousness. Vorn barked orders. Focus. Remember who we are. Adapt. Do not surrender, but do not attack blindly. The lattice pulsed in response, massive constructs shifting around the Resolute, enclosing them in a living labyrinth of energy and light. Partial integration provided insight. The constructs weren't just attacking, they were presenting trials, ethical puzzles, and strategic challenges. Every heartbeat, every decision resonated across the lattice. Humanity's true test had begun. One crew volunteer, fully merged with the lattice, faltered. Neural feedback surged, synapses overloading. Hold on, Wren cried, but the mind link threatened to collapse entirely. Vorn's pulse raced. We cannot let this break us. The lattice pulsed, almost mournfully, as if acknowledging the fragility of human resolve. The volunteer stabilized, but at a cost. Memories of their own life were partially integrated into the lattice permanently. They are showing the price of choice, Vorn realized. Outside, the living fleet pulsed, constructs shifting, observing every human reaction. Humanity had survived its first sacrificial trial, but the ultimate confrontation, the test of identity, survival, and evolution, was only moments away. The Resolute entered the rift's heart. Tendrils of nanotech stretched like colossal veins, pulsing with immense energy. Every system vibrated in resonance with the lattice. Vorn gritted his teeth. This is it, the final trial. Crew members braced themselves, some trembling, others in awe. The living fleet's massive forms surrounded them, patient, immense, and eternal. Holographic forms of the Phantom Fleet's captains appeared, faces flickering between human and biomechanical. You have endured tests of intellect, ethics, and courage, the voice intoned. Now, your final choice awaits, survival through integration, or preservation of humanity through resistance. Vorn's eyes burned with determination. We decide together, and we choose wisely. Partial integration expanded. Tendrils of nanotech interfaced with minds willing to evolve, while resistant officers braced against psychic pressures. The lattice pulsed in response, massive constructs adjusting their positions like sentient chess pieces. Vorn watched carefully, coordinating strategy and observation. We survive through balance, he said, not surrender, not blind evolution. The living fleet reacted to humanity's will. Constructs probed, challenged, and tested the crew's judgment, presenting illusions of total assimilation and annihilation. Every choice echoed through the lattice. Vorn felt the weight of humanity's legacy pressing on him. Their capacity to adapt, resist, and choose defined their fate. The trial was nearing its apex. A second volunteer, fully merged, absorbed a surge of energy from the lattice, preventing a collapse that could have destroyed the Resolute. Neural pathways fused with nanotech, consciousness spreading into the lattice permanently. They are showing the cost of evolution, Wren whispered. Crew members wept, awed and terrified. The lattice pulsed brighter, almost approvingly. Outside, the living fleet shifted, coiling around the ship in recognition of humanity's courage, unity, and ethical discernment. Vorn clenched the console. We are paying attention, but not surrendering identity. This is what it means to survive as humans. Suddenly, the lattice withdrew slightly, revealing the rift beyond. Vorn saw hidden truth. The Phantom Fleet and nanotech were a protective measure, a safeguard seeded by precursor intelligence to preserve sentient life across galaxies. They weren't enemies, Ren whispered. They were custodians, guiding us, testing readiness for evolution. Holographic forms bowed slightly, acknowledging human resilience. You have proven capable of choice, unity, and morality, the voice intoned. You may integrate, partially, fully, or not at all, but the galaxy will remember your wisdom. Vorn's hands relaxed. Humanity had endured the ultimate trial, not through force but through ethical courage. The Resolute drifted in the rift, tendrils retracting, constructs folding back. Partial integration remained, enhancing human cognition without erasing identity. Crew members looked outward at stars bending and pulsating with the lattice's presence. Vorn spoke softly. We survived. Not by surrender, not by assimilation, but by choosing together. The Phantom Fleet's forms shimmered and faded, leaving behind only the lattice, a network of living knowledge, a guardian of evolution. Humanity had changed, enriched by understanding, aware of both fragility and potential. Vorn gazed at the infinite void. We are not obsolete, he whispered. We are the continuation. And now, we begin anew. The end. Thank you for watching AstroMyths. If you enjoyed this story, smash that like button and subscribe for more epic sci-fi tales, cosmic mysteries, and mind-bending myths. And if you like this story, or have a myth, mystery, or galaxy you'd like us to explore, drop your ideas in the comments. We're always listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your mind open to the unknown.